How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys, Alex and Ryan. So today I wanted to address something specific I keep seeing on social media. So for those that don't know about Giancarlo Stanton's contract, we're going to talk about that, really how bad he's been lately. I know we just talked about the giant Stantonian problem a couple days ago. A lot of the comments are like, just trade him, just move off of him, DFA him, whatever it might be. I want to kind of go a little bit deeper into breaking down why the Yankees are strapped to that $98 million they have left over on his contract. So it would be like 118, or it'd be some crazy number. But the reality is the Miami Marlins are paying about $10 million of that down. But it's not fully $10 million because the Yankees are still on the hook for $22 million in luxury tax threshold or luxury tax salary until he's a free agent in 2029 or 2028. And then basically like the base salary comes down to about $25 million as the lowest, but the Yankees are still paying the majority of that luxury tax salary. So it's not a great situation for the team to be in. But nonetheless, we want to take a look at that and really why it's impossible to move off of him, which is tough because now we have to suffer through the back end of Stanton's career, and you kind of have to play him at that price tag, which is difficult. But Ryan, before we dive into the numbers, I know you have some stuff you want to share with everybody. How you do today, my friend?
I'm doing all right. It is a nice weather day. It's not too cold, not too warm. It's fall weather. I kind of like it. It's going to be missing Yankee baseball in the postseason, but you know what? I'll take it. And quite honestly, some people could use a break from this team, including myself. And look, Giancarlo Stanton, here's the big thing. If you're a Yankee fan saying the Yankees need to trade Stanton, they can't win a World Series with Giancarlo Stanton in the lineup, blah, 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 what makes you think a team is going to trade for him, right? That's the big thing for me. A lot of times you see Yankee fans or fans of any fan base. I'm not just pinning this on Yankee fans. I mean, Alex, you obviously extensive work with the Giants. I cover some stuff with the Knicks. Anytime there's a bad player, people are like, oh, just trade them. It's like, well, who wants that player, right? Who wants a bad player? If this player is as bad as we're painting him to be, which Stan is about as bad as we've painted him to be, why would teams want him, right? Stanton hasn't just been it's not that he's been average or he's been like an average hitter and it's not good enough for a DH spot, or he's not a great defender, or he's not a great base runner. No, he has a negative 1.0 FWAR since the start of the second half last year. That is the fourth worst mark in baseball. He has an 86 WRC plus in that time frame. His OBP is 277. The Yankees absolutely cannot afford to have Giancarlo Stanton in their lineup in the middle of their order, but they're not going to be able to get rid of him through trade. If they want to get rid of him, if they want him off their team, they're going to have to DFA him. Look, guys, I'm not saying that Aaron Hicks was a great player for the Yankees, but Aaron Hicks was at least a defensive guy, and the Yankees had to cut him at 3 years, $30 million. What makes you think a team is going to say, hey, we'll trade for Stanton at 4 years, $88 million, right? And that's not counting this year. That's at the end of this year. So the big thing for me with the Yankees right now is that they aren't in a spot where they can, or nobody really is in a spot where they can take on a Giancarlo Stanton, and he's not playing well enough. Look, I am frustrated with his performance. This isn't an excuse for his performance. This is really, if anything, this is an indictment on his performance by me saying nobody is going to trade for him. Don't say, well, what if we eat 50% of the contract? And have another team pay $41 million for Giancarlo Stanton for the next 4 years? You're going to have to give up a crazy good prospect. Here's the thing. You're the New York Yankees. You should be able to spend over Stanton. When you traded for him, you anticipated that the last few years of that contract was going to be a disaster. That's why the Marlins didn't ask for much in return for Stanton. That's why you were able to trade him for just Starlin Castro and a couple of meh prospects. Because you have money. Spend over him. DFA him. I don't know what it takes. I don't care what it takes. But Giancarlo Stanton is not the DH of the New York Yankees the way I view it, or the four-hitter for the Yankees in 2024. Right now, his spot's up for grabs, and I don't think he's doing much to earn it, but they're not going to be able to trade him, Alex. Come on. Let's be real, guys.
The number one reason they're not going to be able to trade him is because he has a full no-trade clause, let alone actually figuring out how to convince him that leaving would be a good thing for him. He's got roots in New York now, you know what I mean? He lives in the city. He probably has houses all over the place. Guy has more money than God. If you're Giancarlo Stanton, what's the upside to leaving? He doesn't care about the negative attention in the media. He never has. And it kind of sucks because the Yankees need more people like that on the team that don't care about the negative perception and attention from the media and just go out and play baseball and do it at a high level. We needed him to be that guy and just kind of shrug off all the bad moments. Instead, he sucks and he doesn't care. So it's damn, okay, this is a kind of a bad combination of sequences now. But Stanton, guys, this is the issue, right? So It's 2023, season's about to end. Next year has a base salary of $32 million. That base salary gets all the way to $25 million in 2028 when there's a club option where the Yankees can retain him, but they have to allocate $10 million for the mutual buyout option. So, or rather the club buyout option. So they have to pay him not to play in 2028 when he's going to hit free agency at 38 years old. By that time, he's going to be in a freaking wheelchair because he can't run already. If you watch him under first base, it's not even really a run. It's more of a slow jog walk, like one of those walks you see with the, those older women who run with the weights in their hands and they're walking at a fast pace. I think they're probably outpacing Stanton at this point. I actually think that it's problematic. They're asking him not to run because they're scared he's going to get hurt. When you're already at the point where you can't have him run full speed because you're so afraid he's going to pull something, you're in deep shit, guys. He can't play defense because he can't run. And when he does, he gets hurt. He's 33 years old. His hamstrings are made of Swiss cheese. I don't understand how the hell the drop-off has been so significant over the past 2 years that this is now where we're at. He's hitting, 106 in September so far with a 250 OBP. The guy is abysmal, and it sucks because he's so talented, and his power metrics are still there. The hard hit rates are still there. The barrel percentages are still there. He's just not seeing the ball fast enough. And Ryan, you allocated some attention toward the swing speed. His swing speed is generational, but it has dropped off 4 miles an hour. That's a significant difference that now the Yankees have to say to themselves, okay, how do we fix that? Because his swing speed, his processing power is not where it needs to be. He's not picking up pitches well. He's not hitting breaking balls anymore. He's barely hitting fastballs as it is. So, Ryan, is there a way back for Stanton? He's never going to be running at full speed again, I don't think. He can't play defense over 300 innings in a year. I feel like those days are long gone. Where does the value come from? Because like you said, the only way the Yankees get out of this, guys, and I want you to hear this, the only way the Yankees get out of that is if they DFA him and eat the $22 million every single season for the next 5 years or 4 years. So it's a tough situation to be in because you're going to have to pay him not to play, but maybe that's the best case scenario just because he's more of a liability than an asset. I don't think they've given up on him just yet by any means. I think they're going to give him next season, but after next season, if he struggles again, then we have to have the real conversation of, we might have to DFA him. We may have to just completely cut ties and walk away from this situation, and another player will be more beneficial. This is the first year in his career he's been a below average hitter in WRC plus, 90 WRC plus. He's a net negative. He did 2 double plays last night with runners in scoring position. It's not good, man. Like, for a guy who was 2 years ago one of the best players in the game, this drop-off has been one of the most incredible I've ever seen. And that's sad because it's been mainly due to injury, but he hasn't been injured the second half of this season, which has been the main narrative. Like, his flow has been disrupted, his rhythm's been disrupted. Usually he gets back to normal after a couple of weeks, but this time around it hasn't been the case. Half a year of being healthy, he hasn't been able to turn it around. So is there a way back, Ryan? Is there a way that Stanton can find his way to being a productive part of this team again, or do you think those days are over?
This is a little bit of an aggressive take, and I know that I'm going to get pushback on this, and I think getting pushback on this is fine. I don't think this is like a definitively the right take or whatever it may be. I'm not like trying to insinuate that I'm more right than everybody else. But the question I'd ask is, Giancarlo Stanton had the worst WRC plus of his career in 2022 up to that point. Was that not the year where he now had to prove himself again, where he had to prove that he wasn't declining? I feel like this was the year he was supposed to prove himself. And he didn't. It didn't happen, right? Like last year, he had a 297 OBP and a 116 WRC plus as a DH. That's not good enough for me. This year, it's a 90 WRC plus and a 276 OBP. What about this looks as if it's remotely like, what about this tells me that he's going to get better? What about this tells me that it's going to turn around? What about this tells me that he's the same player he was? In my eyes, what I view this as is a player that declined last year who's continuing to decline. Honestly, I don't think he deserves to be the starting DH. Even if they don't have him DFA'd, they should have somebody who's ready to replace him in the organization. Like as soon as opening day starts, like they need to sign somebody who can be better than him at the DH spot. I just don't see a reason why Giancarlo Stanton should be the starting DH next year. I don't see a reason why he should be hitting fourth next year. I know that sounds overreactionary to people, but again, This is a year and a half of a sample size of him not being not just a bad player, but one of the worst players in baseball. He was bad in the second half. He's been bad this year. He's had stretches. He's had moments. He's had highlights. He's had, the occasional, oh my gosh, is he back? But it hasn't clicked. Like, the guy's BABIP is 200. Like, it was 227 last year. He's not the player he was before. He, as you mentioned with the bat speed thing, he doesn't have the twitch he had before. I don't know if that changes. I don't know if that's a thing they can work on in the offseason. But, I mean, do you imagine that Giancarlo Stanton finds something athletically that he hasn't found over the last 2 years? I don't think so. And the last point I want to make is the Yankees, there are options, right? Like, the Yankees are going to have options in free agency that could be like cheap guys or lower cost guys coming off of down years or injury that they can take flyers on, that I would rather take flyers on over Giancarlo Stanton. Jock Peterson's having a down year, 118 WRC plus versus 146. Are you not taking that flyer on a lefty bat who has, I mean, he's underperformed his metrics a lot, doesn't strike out a ton, walks a lot, has great power? I'm taking a flyer on that, and I'm saying, hey, here's about $10 to $12 million on a 1-year deal, or 2 years at $20 million, or even 3 years at $30 million. I'll take that flyer over Stanton. Rhys Hoskins, he's coming off an ACL tear. We saw what he did in the postseason with the Phillies. We've seen he's kind of been steadily a really good power hitter. I know he's a righty, so that's a little bit complicated, but he can give you some support at first base if if Rizzo doesn't come back and fully, acclimate himself the way he was before. I'm taking that. Again, that's another flyer I would take. Do you look at maybe a guy like, a Mark Canha could be an outfielder who can help you, and maybe you can rotate Judge into the DH spot if the Yankees wanted to go out and, again, I know that this is, dreaming big here still, but if the Yankees wanted to trade for Juan Soto, or if Aaron Judge, they want to keep him healthier, they need that DH spot open. Like, they can't have the DH spot closed off for a guy who has a 90 WRC plus. This is sports. You got to update your resume. It's about updating the damn resume. The resume has not been updated. That resume, I see 200 something games of not good enough performance. I see 2 seasons, over 800 plate appearances of a 104 WRC plus and a 287 OBP, and it's trending in the wrong direction. Nothing in that profile screams to me this guy deserves to be the starting DH of a World Series Yankees team. If Garrett Cole wasn't turning 34 next year, maybe it's a different conversation. If Aaron Judge wasn't turning 32 next year, different conversation. If Cortez, King, Holmes, Loizaga weren't all impending free agents in the next couple of years, it's a different conversation. Your window is now. Not saying you won't be able to win a World Series in 5 years, but I don't know how good Garrett Cole's going to be in 5 years. I don't know how good Aaron Judge is going to be in 5 years. I know they're very good right now, and the Yankees need to do everything in their conceivable power to get that done. And part of that is knowing that you can't do sunk cost fallacy. They did it with Donaldson, failed. They did it with Hicks for a little bit, failed, right? Like, I don't buy the profile. I don't buy, at least Donaldson and Hicks were good defenders. You could say, hey, they can play the position and they do it better than anybody else in the organization. Well, Hicks, maybe not that case in left field, but the Yankees didn't have a left fielder, right? Donaldson, third base. He was clearly the best defender on the team. That's fine. Is Stanton the best defender in right field? No, he's a liability. He costs the Yankees runs. That inside the park home run against the Brewers is unacceptable. Can he run the bases? At least Hicks could run a little bit. The guy has -7 BSR over the last 2 years, and you see him run. Look, I know stats are important, but it's a visual thing too. Alex, and I'm going to pass this off to you, man, with this. Dude, when he runs, man, there's no chance. That double play should not be turned on a major league hitter. That should never be turned against a major league hitter. That should be ground out to second, guy stays at first, inning continues. It's an inning-ending double play. This will cost you in the postseason. And before people say, well, what about April and May? Those games don't matter. They don't tell you how good a team is, but Alex, 1 game, 2 games, 3 games, 4 games, that determines a playoff spot. Had the Yankees been better in August, they're in a playoff spot right now. So I'm going to pass it off to you with this. Is it wrong for me to think he can't compete at the major league level right now? Is it wrong for me to think that they are going to lose games because of Stanton? And I can't take that next year. That can't happen.
So I'll throw this kind of narrative into play. He is hurting everybody else, including himself, because those double plays, when you have runners on and you're not hustling and you are the reason that your team is not producing runs, it affects everybody. It's a cancer to everybody, because now you have 2 situations where you can drive in runs and you're not running full speed. You can't get to first base time to even beat out a simple throw that you should have beat out. think about what everyone else is thinking. Like, God, if he could just freaking run. Like, oh my God, we're on base again. He can't freaking hit. He can't hit us in. There's no RBIs coming from this. I'm working my ass off. I'm working counts. I'm getting on base. Stanton comes up, and bam, the inning's over. Think about the impact it has on everyone else's psyche. Everyone else loses confidence every single time he does that, and it happens all the freaking time. So, you tell me, if you were a player, I would be like, this was once a guy that we could trust to drive runners in, hit homers, be a reliable piece of this offense, and now he's holding our offense back, and now every time I get on base, I'm afraid for him to go up to bat. You know what I mean? Like, think about that as a teammate. Like, you don't trust him as a teammate to get the job done. That affects everyone. It affects everyone's psyche. It affects everyone's confidence and their willingness to go the extra mile. If he's not going to hustle, why should I? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that they actually follow that per se, but like, it's more so about the concept of like, he's not able to do those things, and it's not because it's his lack of trying. I'm not saying Stanton's not trying to run. He can't freaking run full speed. You know what I mean? Like, that's problematic. There are now physical limitations to Stanton's game that are holding him back from being a competent player. That's where we start to turn the narrative to say, is there even a way back from that? If he can't run because he can't do it physically, if he can't do that, if he can't show any sense of athleticism on defense, if his reaction timing is slowing down, he's physically degrading at a very astronomical pace. If those sometimes, a lot of times, especially with a player like Stanton who's injury prone, you can't reverse that trend. You know what I mean? You can't turn that around. That doesn't correct itself. This isn't a mental confidence thing. This is a he can't fucking run thing. You know what I mean? Like, he can't freaking process the ball fast enough anymore. These things are physical natures that are depleting very, very fast. I don't know if there's a way back from those physical, shortcomings. I don't know if he can recover that. So that's where I run into a roadblock, in the sense that there may not be a solution to the problems he has right now, because it's not confidence-based. It's physical-based. So that's what I'll leave you guys with. And this is a really down and dark episode because we're frustrated, because we have 4 more years of $22 million on the luxury tax from his contract. That's Yamamoto. You know what I mean? That's Bellinger. Like, that's really good, young, productive players that you would have had otherwise. Trading him is off the table. Full no trade clause. Why would he want to leave? He's cashing in. He has a home and a roots here. The only reason he would leave is if we were so mean to him. And I'm not going to be that guy in terms of, we can criticize him as a player, but I will never criticize him as a guy, because I know he's a great dude, and I know he tries his butt off, but he is physically limited now because of all the injuries. It's not his fault. It's just his reality. So at this point, I'll leave you guys with this. We're going to have to suffer through this together, but we have some young guys coming up that can help supplement those kind of shortcomings. We hope Everson Pereira can help. We know Jason Dominguez can help. We hope some of these other young kids coming up can really make an impact here. And if they have to let him go and just eat that money and just suffer through that little bit of, at least he's not a liability for us anymore, and we can give other people those opportunities that can be more productive, then so be it. That might be the direction we have to go. But as always, my friends, I'm happy to hear your perspectives below in the YouTube comments. Make sure to like and subscribe as always, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.